Impermanence is an absolutely important subject, the truth that Vipassana meditators or any Buddhist or non-Buddhist, whoever wants to liberate from suffering should understand. Impermanence is not somebody's invention. It is there all the time. And that is what the Buddha said, because whether the Tathagata appears or does not appear, this established truth, this law of Dhamma, this element of Dhamma exists. With regard to this, Buddha said the same thing about dependent origination, which also exists by itself without anybody's instigation or encouragement or introduction. Even impermanence is like that. We know people, Buddha's own contemporaries and his predecessors, Greek philosophers like Heraclitus, talk about impermanence. But we have not seen anywhere any record of their doing something with their knowledge of impermanence. They simply knew it and just perhaps ignored it or dismissed it. Buddha is the only one teaching. That means entire teachings of the Buddha is based on the truth of impermanence. That is, everything impermanent is unsatisfactory, which is the first noble truth, unsatisfactoriness, or to be to use very unpalatable term, everything impermanent is suffering. Everything impermanent is suffering, not because they are purely impermanent, but because of our attachment. Whoever is attached to impermanence definitely must expect to experience suffering, because when we are attached to something, we assume that that object will remain forever, permanently. And the notion of permanence will soon disappear when we see impermanence. And therefore, becoming attached to anything impermanence causes suffering, tension, friction, anxiety, and stress. So one of the things that is not to get what one wants. Elaborating this truth, Buddha said, suppose somebody subject to birth, decay, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair, wish that that person will not grow old, fall sick, become weak. No matter how much the person wish not to be old, not to fall sick, old age sneaks into our life. We were born with this truth from the moment we were conceived in our mother's wombs. The impermanence starts operating simultaneously without any prior notice. It happens all the time. And that is why we grow in the womb and we come out and then continue our impermanent nature. It is intrinsic to all existing things. Nothing in this universe is exempt from this truth. So, without impermanence as permanence, unsatisfactoriness as satisfactoriness, non self as self, uh, suffering as pleasure, these are just mere distorted perception. When we see the truth of impermanence, then this notion, this distortion completely vanishes from our mind. So impermanence is an extremely important factor, truth that we all have to, without any condition, uh, we must, everyone should accept. This is very difficult for us to accept impermanence. We think our health is permanent, our appearance is permanent, our youth is permanent, and so on and so forth. While we are hoping them to be permanent, they go on changing, becoming impermanent. We, as I mentioned, uh, not to get what one wants is suffering. In fact, and that is what we want, and we don't get it. No matter how hard we try to remain young, the body is changing. Mind wants us, the body, to remain young, but the body does not care for the mind. Body has its own agenda. Mind is thinking that it should not change, but while thinking, even the mind is changing. So both body and mind are continuously changing without anybody's instigation, anybody's force or power, no matter who we are, who things are, what things are, the changes taking place all the time, all the time. We, in fact, are not anything solid. Uh, we are really activities uh, in our own body and mind. Activities are going on all the time. Very few, small fraction of these activities we become aware of. Without our awareness, these activities are going on all the time. They are changing all the time. To purify blood all the time, and kidneys, liver, brain, blood circulation, um, everything constantly, continuously changing all the time, always. And even though we don't know them, while they are changing, we think of remaining young, remaining healthy, remaining strong, and so forth and so on. We wish. So we wish one thing and we don't get it. So this truth is operating all the time in spite of our sincere wish. So not to get what one wants is suffering, but even to get what one wants is also suffering. Why? Once you got something, say you have you are wishing, working, praying, planning to have, if you are a boy, to have a girl, beautiful girl. You have, you would do anything But from the moment you are thinking of her, you are working very hard, sacrificing anything in life, don't listen to anybody. You think this is an ideal life. I will have permanent happiness with this particular girl. So, however, eventually you become friendly and then date and so forth and so on, all the preliminary things you both do. She likes you, you like her, and so forth and so on, experiencing great deal of pleasure, joy, excitement together. So eventually you get closer and closer and closer to each other. Your original pleasure, original joy, original excitement slowly fading away. You will begin to see some faults in her, and she begins to see some faults in you. So both of them notice each other's faults, weaknesses, and so forth. She might notice that you are not really faithful, and you might notice that she is not really faithful, and so forth. Her appearance you have had in the past is slowly changing. Your appearance is changing. Your attitude, your feeling are changing. Her attitude, her feelings are changing. So from the moment you got together, these differences begin to become very conspicuous, very clear, and then your original attachment slowly become weak. When it becomes weak, there may be some irritation, little disappointment, and then begin to dislike, and then finally, perhaps you may start having verbal fights, quarreling, bickering, sometimes even getting very big arguments. So what happened? The law of diminishing returns started working. Pleasure turns into displeasure. So you never expected this. And this is why I say you buy one, get one free. What did you buy? The pleasure. But the pleasure did not come itself. It came with pain. So you have to buy the whole package. And now you see something unpleasant happening. And then you both separate. After separation, are you happy? No. Then you begin to slowly, you begin to feel for each other again. And maybe trying to get together again. Perhaps when you go, both of you go in different way, then you may find another girl, she may find another boy, and then you cannot get back again together, and so forth and so on. This is how impermanence works. Very subtle examples are looking at yourself. Your beautiful looking skin, smooth, oily, shining, clear, smooth, slowly change. And you really eventually you begin to find some gray hair, wrinkled face, loose teeth, weak hearing, weak eyesight, weak appetite, and voice is weak voice. And so all these original things are no longer there. Then only you begin to understand all the things that you have been doing all your life, from childhood up to now. When you look back, they are no longer there. Only the memory is there. Everything is gone, disappeared, never comes again. The pleasure you had when you were a child, enjoyment and ability to enjoy, and the enjoyment itself is not anymore giving you any excitement. So, this is what is called not getting what one wants. This, in fact, is it's a truth, and this truth we must understand, accept it, and try to learn to live along with this truth instead of trying to fight. When you cannot fight, join. And then this is why we learn to practice meditation, because in meditation, especially when you start practicing meditation, of course, at the beginning you may not uh, be able to do it very well. There will be aches and pains and discomfort and so on. But even with all these difficulties, if you continue to practice, gradually you will be able to see impermanence taking place all the time in your breath, your feeling, your perceptions, your thoughts and consciousness. And seeing this nature and slipping them away, impermanence, and they have no power, any strength to glue them together, to keep them together, because they are all there so that you can reduce your tension, anxiety, worry, stress, which you build up thinking that this is permanent.
Lunch will be 10 minutes late.
Okay. So I think this may be enough for you to think and reflect and maybe